I'm here with Victor Colicchio, who is the writer of the movie Summer of Sam, which was directed by Spike Lee and co-written by Michael Imperioli.
New York City, 1977.
Is that Richie? What's happening, guys?
And serial hysteria.
Double homicide.
Police received a letter from the .44 caliber killer, calling himself the Son of Sam.
You know, you're one of the few people that ever got my name right.
Really?
They call me Colicchio, Coluccio, yeah.
Colicchio.
Yeah. You got it right. That's rare, very rare.
I did my research. Tell us about the Summer of Sam movie and how it all began.
Well, back in like 1977, I was playing in a band. Not that I'm old enough to be in a band back then. So if I don't make it in music, in the 90s, when the 70s are popular, I'm going to write a story about the Summer of Sam.
I'd really like to see you again.
I wanted Michael Imperioli to star in it, and I brought it to him, and he asked to direct it. And so I said, yeah, definitely, And then he was in a Spike Lee movie, and we were at the premiere. We bumped into Spike, and Spike said, I heard you directed a movie. And he said, yeah. He asked what it was about. And he said, it's Vic's script. Ask him. And I said, it's about a bunch of Italian guys in the Bronx almost beat their best friend to death because they thought he was the Son of Sam killer. And Spike asked to read it, and he liked it, and he wanted to produce it.
You danced so great tonight, baby.
I wasn't really, too happy because I knew it was going to be big.
Okay.
And I wanted to do an independent, like a little $4 million budget or something. And, that's how me and Michael, it was our dream to do an indie movie, and which I did right after Summer of Sam. But, and then there was a concern because, those are the days when Spike was not very well liked in Hollywood. And he was being accused of being a racist, that he hates white people, and it's the furthest from the truth. There's a difference between hating white and loving black.
Yeah.
And so me and Michael had a few discussions about it, and I was torn. I ran into Paul Borghese. You know Paul? Do you know Paul Borghese? He had a film.
I don't know Paul Borghese.
Well, I asked his advice, and he was like a bird in the hand. If Spike wants to do it, you're going to get on the books. But Spike did promise that he would let us, that he would have the film, have it filmed word for word. He's not going to change anything. When Michael couldn't direct, that's when he came on board as a writer. I said, well, why don't we, do it as a writing team now, Let's go wild with it. And Michael brought in a whole nother element to it, which was, really nice.
And everyone is a suspect.
There was a lot of dramatic license with the characters, but there were a lot of factual events. The blackout, the Yankees, CBGB, Studio 54, Plato's Retreat. That was true. And the way the events, like the reward money being offered by the mafia, the newspapers, the police, to capture the killer.
Did you ever think that maybe you might be a victim?
No way. I mean, my hair was long, and believe me, there was times.
Right, you wanted to throw on a blonde wig.
Yeah, I was smoking a joint with in a parking lot with my bandmate Tommy, and we both had shoulder-length hair. We got to talking, we looked and went, uh-oh, from behind. He might not know the difference.
Wow.
The panic, I found that the reaction to the killing, much more fascinating than the actual killings. It was just the whole neighborhood, which was our whole world, changed. I mean, people were suspecting people. There were so many people getting beatings because there was some similarity, and we were all out on the hunt and, doing our own detective work, so to speak. And we came to the conclusion that the killer was part of a cult. And that made it even scarier because of the Manson murders. And so anybody that was a little off kilt didn't listen to disco and go to discos, anything, you know, heavy metal guys, anybody that was a little offbeat or weird was a suspect. In my mom's restaurant, I saw when cops came in they had a meeting with the mob, and my mother's restaurant was on the other side of the Bronx, and they met there because they didn't want anyone in the neighborhood knowing that they were meeting. And they asked for help to track down the gun, because a lot of people are not going to talk to the police, but the mob has their way of doing business.
It's a blackout. We understand that the lights are out. You stay in your house, lock your doors. City that never sleeps has come to a standstill.
What was it like to live through the summer of 1977?
Oh, yeah, it was exciting times. You know, the killer made everyone know that they were alive. You know, when your life is threatened, you realize that you're alive. But, you know, the blackout was, you know, it was exciting. It was different, you know, especially for someone like me that likes anarchy and chaos. You know, it's like anything out of the norm, you know. It was just, you know, just so exciting, that blackout. You know, there's a killer on the loose, and there's not a lightness in the city. People were looting like crazy. Evander Holyfield played one of the looters, you know. In
really?
Yeah, he played one of the looters carrying out a refrigerator.
Programmed to kill.
You know where.
What is your writing process?
It evolved. You know, it was the first thing I've ever written. My original draft was closer to a Saturday Night Fever. As a matter of fact, I had concerns, you know, because they were Italians, Brooklyn, Bronx, disco, of comparison. So in my first version, I kind of copied the opening of Saturday Night Fever with the guy walking down.
What parts did Mike bring in during your collaboration?
Well, the first thing he wanted to do was to make all the characters older, instead of just teenagers, because it did raise the stakes, because you expect stupid, crazy things from kids. But so he made them older, and then he gave Adrien Brody's character, you know, a lot of darkness, and you know, and he brought in like he really played up the diversity angle of it all.
Sam?
Touchstone Pictures presents.
Everybody's got two personalities, man.
So the process, it's hard, you know. We start at the beginning, we go to the end, and then when you're at the end, you got to change the beginning, then the middle, and it kept going over. Oh, I'll never forget. Spike tells me one time, "Hey, Vic, could you make the second act a little longer and the third act shorter?" And I go, "Yeah, if you tell me where the second act ends and the third act begins." He goes, "You don't know?" He says, "Disney's put all this money into your film, you don't even know the difference?" I go, "No, I never wrote anything before, Spike." He goes, "Well, let me put it to you this way." And he gave me the page number, and I said, "All right." He says, "But let me explain it to you. The three-act structure. In the first act, characters get stuck up a tree. In the second act, they struggle to get out. And in the third act, the tree falls."
What do you want?
I want you to go out and kill.
Kill. Kill.
They were reading what was in the papers, that it was a lone killer, you know. Although at the time we did suspect we knew it was multiple killers. We knew it. It was so obvious.
How did you know that?
The sketches were nowhere
Yeah,
alike. You
yeah,
know?
the sketches did not match, did they?
You know, they just didn't match. It was, you know, it made no sense at all. You know, and you know, Jimmy Breslin, who's, you know, David Berkowitz used to write to, he came on board, and he was of the lone killer theory, because he would have looked silly if he was wrong after printing all those articles.
Saw the dead bodies last night.
So the bodies.
How did you get to act in a film that you wrote?
Well, it was written for Frank Gorshin, who played the Riddler on Batman on a TV show, the original one. He opened up for the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show, very famous comedian at the time. And I wrote the part for him. We were friends, and he won Las Vegas Entertainer of the Year award and couldn't make it. So Spike said, "Hey, that's your friend. You know, you do the part then." And it was literally the day before we were shooting. You know.
Wow.
So I had to come up with a character and decided to make him an ex-Vietnam vet with a limp.
What took you so long, Chicky? I'm fucking starving over here. Thank you, you know. Can I get I want a cheeseburger and I want fries with
I'm sorry, Vinny, but we're out of cheeseburgers.
You know. Give me something
You're a
to do.
method actor.
Yeah, there's no method to my acting.
All right, Vinny, I'll serve you, but he's got to go. What are we talking about?
Wait, hold.
Talking to me?
No, hold on. Chicky,
Sorry.
Chicky, do you know who this is?
Who?
You don't know who this is, do you?
No.
You fuck, this is Richie.
Richie who?
Richie Tringali.
That's Richie Tringali?
At the dramatic workshop in Carnegie Hall, when I was about 17, 18, Eric Estrada was in the class.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, but I decided I liked the music world better, so I didn't pursue it. But I've studied it for so long, and I've worked with so many brilliant actors. You know, as a matter of fact, Michael Imperioli and I, he was cast in his first play, written by Robert Moresco, who went on to win the Oscar for the screenwriting for the film Crash. You know.
Yes.
So we kind of like learned a lot as actors and writers from Bobby. Michael's character, we were two like teenage hoodlums, and we're planning a robbery, and he doesn't want to go along with it because a friend of ours had to be taken to the hospital for taking too much heroin. And that was his motivation for wanting to get out of the gang and out of that whole life. So Bobby took us to the roof where the OD took place, which is a couple of blocks from here, when Hell's Kitchen, like you're lucky to be alive if you can walk through it. And he said, "Now, Michael, you know, your character wants to get out of the gang and the life because your friend almost died." He goes, "We got to raise the stakes. What can we do to raise the stakes?" And we're coming up with all different suggestions until one of us said, "He died. He overdosed." And Bobby goes, "That's it." But Bobby didn't tell us that. That was the answer he was looking for, but he made us discover it. So a couple of months of rehearsal with him, every day was like that. And so you learn, you know, about writing, you learn about acting. And, you know, I've worked with some, you know, brilliant directors, twice for Scorsese, twice for Woody Allen, Spike Lee, of course, you know, and did a lot of TV, soap operas, and a lot of stage work. I did a lot of stage.
I turn around and this kid is pointing a 22 in my chest.
My real love, and so like on-the-job training.
In one hot summer, he's a victim 6 and 7 in one neighborhood.
The son of Sam killer who has been targeting young women has caused panic-stricken brunettes to dye their hair blonde.
How did you use the cultural influences in the film, real-life events that were happening, and bring it into the story?
The first killing, I think, was 1976 on June 29th, and so that anniversary coming up was a big deal. The you know, there was the blackout, which was a big deal. That, you know, and he was writing. He wrote to the papers. He's gonna kill on the anniversary, you know, and so it was just so many events, crazy things that it's hard to forget. And so it was easy. We had the characters develop. We knew who they were, what their goals were, what their issues were, and we just used the real life events to flush out the character itself.
Right,
know?
the World Series was going on.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, first off, I had a scene between Adrien and John Leguizamo where they're sitting like down by the water. I lived on the Long Island Sound, and Spike put that into. He changed the location to Yankee Stadium, and he hired Reggie Jackson to play himself, and they had to fit him with an afro wig, you know, because he had an afro back then, and so that's one thing. And then he asked me to play up the sports angle, and you know, I'm not a sports fan, so what I did was Reggie Jackson was number 44, And the Son of Sam was originally the .44 caliber killer. So I used a voiceover of a Yankee game during one of the killings, where you see David Berkowitz walking in, or the killer, whoever it was at the time, walking into the parking lot with a couple are sitting, and they go and he goes, number 44 goes to the plate, picks up the bat, goes to the plate, he takes his stance. Holy cow, the fans go wild as number 44 heads for home. And
here's the pitch, into the swing, a long fly ball. Holy cow, that is gone. Deep into the right field bleachers. The
it was really freaky, though, to hear like a Yankee game being broadcast over a murder scene, you know?
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's like one of my favorite scenes, besides my own.
I'm sorry, Vinny, but we're out of cheeseburgers.
You know?
Yeah, of course.
No, it was one of my favorite scenes, you know, in the movie because of that.
Yeah, Adrien Brody got hit over the head with a bottle and blood ran down his face.
That's a true story too.
Yeah, right. Fuck it. Let's go.
The Sex Pistols, they were on tour at the time in America, and they were down there. I think it was in Atlanta, and they were in a diner. And this redneck goes, you punks think you're so tough. You ain't so tough. And the redneck takes a cigarette and puts it down in his own hand. So Sid Vicious looked at him, picked up a ketchup bottle, and then slashed his arm, you know? So that's what inspired that. I always felt, you know, and I told Spike that the screenplay is kind of based on The Wizard of Oz in a way, where like you head on down the road and you never know who you're going to meet or what you're going to meet, and all these bizarre, weird characters. So being John Leguizamo, he was into disco, and so they go to Studio 54, where they meet this photographer, right, who winds up taking him to Plato's Retreat for a swing club. And Mira and John participate in it, and then on the ride home, as you see in the movie, John's not talking, and then she says, "Why are you talking? Why are you talking?" And he calls her like, "Yeah, you slut or something," and she goes, "What? I only did what you asked me to do." He goes, "Did I tell you? Did I ask you to like it? Did I ask you to like it? You whore." So she gets out of the car, you know, storming, cursing, and then he's telling her, get back in the car, and she has language that was used that I said to Michael, oops, there goes the Oscar. I mean, it was foul language, you know. And so he gets out to chase her. She gets in the car, and she takes off and leaves him there because we wanted to try and show how Italian women were strong. There's a couple of scenes in there where you know, the women are all strong characters. They're not, you know, little, you know, pushovers, you know. It's because, you know, that's the way they were, you know. So we wanted to portray them correctly, you know. When you start writing, you know, you're giving your characters life. They start doing what they want after a while, and they start writing themselves, and they start telling you what to do, you know. And you know, you can almost hear the characters like, I'm not going to take that shit from him, you know.
Yeah.
Give me some dialogue, you know. You can just hear it. It's so strange, you know.
Yeah, what was it like to be directed by Spike Lee?
Very relaxed, very comfortable scene, very creative. His approach is more like a play, like a stage work. It's very collaborative when you work with him. He lets you improv, and you know, gives his actors a lot of freedom. You know.
Oh, that sounds nice.
But you know, that's what I say. You know, with screenwriting, there's two types. Like you know, I said, either you're like a storyteller, where you have a story, a vision, and you want to tell it, and that's one kind of writing. Then there's the other kind of writing where you take classes, you go to school. And if a producer comes up to you and says, yeah, here's a story, write it, you know the exact formula that you need to write it, you know? Which sooner or later, you know, AI is going to take that over, you know?
Yeah, AI.
But AI is not going to write Summer of Sam, no way, you know? It's
no, doesn't have the heart and soul.
And that's another bit of advice. Always write about what you know. Do your research, you know, and and know what you're writing about. You know, it makes the job a lot easier. You know, and have fun.
Have fun.
That's
you always have fun.
always, you know.
John Leguizamo, Adrien Brody, Mira Sorvino, Jennifer Esposito.
Jennifer Esposito and Mira Sorvino were originally cast before Spike ever came along, because Michael and I did a very low budget movie, Mira Sorvino's first movie. Me and Michael were like drug dealers. Sweet Nothings it was called. And Jennifer was just a friend of ours, and so, you know, they were always cast long before Spike came along. And when Spike came on, Marissa Tomei wanted in on it. And I says, no, we can't do that to Jennifer. You know, her hopes, you know, it's different, you know. And he goes, yeah, but he says if we have Mira Sorvino and Marissa Tomei, that'd be like having Batman and Superman in the same movie. But Spike, I don't know why, he spoke. He chose Jennifer. He let Jennifer do it. And the original cast was Leonardo DiCaprio as in Adrien Brody's part, and Benicio del Toro in John Leguizamo's part, you know?
Yeah, how long did it take to get the whole production together with casting and shooting?
Once it was signed, it was, you know, like with pre-production, like a month, you know, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, you know?
That's great.
But Leo wanted, they were going to put up another $30 million for his security and his salary, and his rider, whatever's on there, and but he wanted script approval, and Spike don't give that to anybody, you know. He wanted too much of a creative input, so Spike said no. And when he dropped out, Benicio dropped out, and Spike happened to be directing a Broadway play for Leguizamo, and thought, he says, you know, I could see women liking him, you know, know, and so then he called me up one day, and he says, look, my agent's pushing this kid Adrien Brody on us. He says, take him in I had the pink and black Pontiac 55. He said, take him up to the Bronx around the neighborhood, and let me know if you have a feel for it, you know? And he was asking me about the accent, and I said, you're from Queens, right? He goes, yeah. I said, there's very little difference between Queens and the Bronx. There's a bigger difference between Bronx and Brooklyn. As a matter of fact, Bugs Bunny, Mel Blanc used a little Brooklyn and a little Bronx for Bugs Bunny's voice. So Adrien and I were going down the FDR Drive, smoking a joint, you know, and I don't smoke pot anymore though. But anyway, Adrien and I are going down the FDR Drive, and Adrien says to me, Vic, you know, can you please give me a recommendation? He says, I got cut out of Thin Red Line. I got cut out of this. This movie could really make my career. Wow. He says, you know, if you think I'm remotely close, please put in a good word for me. I said, don't worry. I already made up my mind that I'm going to strongly recommend you. He goes, really? I go, yeah. I said, I think you're going to be bigger than Pacino and De Niro. He goes, why do you say that? I said, because your nose is bigger than theirs. I know I'm terrible. I couldn't help it, you know?
His hair was out of this world. The mohawks. What's going on with the punk rockers back then?
The Mohawk wasn't in at that time. That was more in England, you know, so I didn't like that part of the movie.
Okay.
The punk rockers look more like the Ramones, you know, they had like Beatle haircuts, Talking Heads, Blondie. It was that kind of look. It was like more like British 60s invasion. So I didn't like that at all, you know.
Apparently he did his own hair.
I'll be right back.
He wanted to wear a wig, and
really?
And Spike told him no. De Niro didn't wear a wig in Taxi, you know. And Spike didn't want that, you know.
This is a warning to all police agencies in the tri-state area. For your information, a satanic cult has been instructed by their high command, Satan, to systematically kill and slaughter young girls of good health and clean blood.
Do you think there actually was a satanic cult behind the
Yeah, I
murders?
definitely believe it. I know that we had traced some cult in the City Island at a particular cafe. There was a lot of talk around the streets about it not being more than one killer. David Berkowitz admitted, finally, after a while, after I had read Terry Morey's book after we filmed, and he documents everything that we suspected, Now you don't have to see the movie, I just told you the whole thing.
Hey, I had a real good time tonight.
You busy tomorrow night? I'd really like to see you again.
You danced so great tonight, baby.
Ah, 'cause you're beautiful. New York City, 1977.
Is that Richie? What's happening, guys? You come back to the neighborhood looking like a freak. You're supposed to be okay with that.
A time of endless possibilities.
You want to be my dog?
A naughty girl.
And serial hysteria.
Double homicide.
Police received a letter from the 44 caliber killer, calling himself the son of Sam.
What happened?
I just saw the bodies.
I am the monster, Beelzebub.
In one hot summer,
He's a victim 6 and 7.
in one neighborhood,
Vinny saw the dead bodies last night.
Saw the bodies?
between friends and lovers,
The son of Sam killer who has been targeting young women has caused panic-stricken brunettes to dye their hair blonde.
I feel like I'm cheating on you with you.
anyone is a target.
I think he's after me. I'm gonna be number 8.
You know, I'd lay 5 to 1 to kill us from right here.
And everyone is a suspect. It's a blackout.
We understand that the lights are out.
So stay in your house, lock your doors.
City that never sleeps has come to a standstill.
I know who the killer is. Reggie Jackson.
What's the matter with you?
What kind of gun did the killer use? 44 caliber, right? What's Reggie's number? 44. Richie's the son of Sam.
They think he's the son of Sam, the 44 caliber killer.
Benny, stop it!
Nobody gets in my neighborhood without me knowing it.
You think I'm the son of Sam?
Touchstone Pictures presents
Everybody's got 2 personalities, Vin.
Oh, anybody out there?
a Spike Lee joint.
Son of Sam, come and get me!
John Leguizamo, Adrien Brody, Mira Sorvino, Jennifer Esposito, and Ben Garzzara.
That psycho is gonna have no place to hide.
In 1977, the summer belonged to Sam.